Coming from the Truspace, we ain't answer big neighbors. I don't give a fuck what you say. Found the universal coochie, planting seeds and birds fruit. Now I'm really looking juicy. Welcome to the Truspace. Yeah, bitch, welcome to the Truspace. Welcome to the Truspace. Yeah, bitch, welcome to the Truspace.
What's good, y'all? My name is Open Buck. Here's
Hey
my
guys, I'm
partner.
Kurt. Welcome back to Truspace.
Yup, and this is our full moon. Breaking down the energy of this full moon in Gemini. So, how do you think this full moon in Gemini is going to be hitting the collective, the Sag
So
season?
right now, this is gonna be all about emotional release, emotional shedding, and what we're gonna emotionally shed through. It's gonna be about expressing and externalizing broad and indecisive thoughts and ideas and concepts for this cycle, analyzing it with other people. This is why Gemini comes from the third house, dealing with siblings, co-workers, neighbors, and things like that. This is what leading to actually communication, debate, and communicating so you can take an idea out of your own head so you could argue it and manipulate it with other people, see like how many angles you
Hmm.
could turn it. Basically, this is the type of energy that lead into basically early education and developing that, like, that mental faculty. Like, the better your early education is, the quicker you could get into like your higher education, which would be like Sagittarius, the ninth house. And if you have like bad development in your third house, it's gonna be hard for you to get to your ninth house and things of that nature. You look at even like rich people, how fast they could get their kids' education, and they could really speed up their process and things of that nature. While people of lesser income and things of that nature may not have that capability and things like that. But with this full moon, it's gonna be conjuncting Mars retrograde. So as we're going through this emotional expression and to explain and analyze and argue with other people, there's gonna be this heavy uh like nervous system input, which is gonna cause us to accelerate the way we're gonna express our emotion. This is gonna lead to arguments, fight, uh using words in a way that like penetrate people, because Mars, it's your nervous system, so it creates inflammation. And when it conjunct the moon, it's your immune system. The thing, and when it's in an air sign, things could get really sharp. You speak, you throw swords that like very hot and things of that nature. So you gotta be careful. And it's the retrograde is
Absolutely.
adding like the double Gemini-ness. It's just adding more Gemini-ness. It's almost like you want to say something, but you're indecisive. But the retrograde is adding more indecisiveness to it. But like you're trying to learn and increase and develop that like mental faculty through expressing it and analyzing it with other people. So this is what you're gonna basically emotionally express, and you're gonna have to deal with that conjunction with Mars and learn how to slow down. All the communication is gonna happen within your immediate surroundings, and the words and people intention. I realize a lot of these things just deal with pure logic and just for the sake of communication. They do not really deal with emotion like that. It's just more about just really communicating. People with like Moon and Gemini, this like communication when it comes to like dealing with their emotion. They want to keep things light-hearted. They don't want to get things very deep and things like that. That's how would I interpreting it,
Hmm.
and especially all this like emotional release which you're doing with your communicative faculty and things of that nature. It came from the seeds you planted with the new moon Sagittarius, which is where you wanted to basically
Hmm.
broaden your understanding about God, develop better faith, optimism, take a risk, and things of that nature, which sometimes lead into uh, a failure, but that risk lead you into gaining knowledge and wisdom, adding more meaning and reason into what you're doing, which lead to optimism and things of that nature. So the new moon allowed you to plant seeds there. Capricorn allowed you basically to build a structure around it. Aquarius, you associated it and things of that nature. Pisces, you added subconscious influence to it. Aries, you fought for it, became a warrior. Taurus, you stabilized it through your hormonal system. Gemini, now you're speaking about it, you're externalizing it through your lungs, you're seeing it its effect. And in Cancer, this is where you get to reflect on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then it's in home too after the full moon, so it's very nurturing too, or at least it can be, because if it goes back into the moon going into Cancer, then it's going to meet up or make trines with, Jupiter and Neptune. So there's that whole opportunity to get flunked out after, or, run too much into comfort after, say, a full moon manifested and you didn't plant the right seeds in the new moon season and the new moon time. But yeah, exactly like what Harris said, it really goes back to the seeds that you had planted in terms of how you were going to expand your individuality, how you're going to expand your idea of self, and what did you want to learn, more meaning and reasoning that you were going to add into your life. What optimistic roles do you see yourself expanding into, and really having faith and placing faith within yourself to go and exact that, to realize that, because that's what your attention's going into. But if you're not planting the right seeds, and that's why it's important, because when the moon and the sun is aligned, you can really attach emotion to what it is that you're looking at, to what it is that you're trying to do, and that emotion helps propel you forward into things instead of holding you back. So now you're going in through all of these other moon transits with the sun with momentum. If you have a good new moon and you really visualize how you want to actualize that energy, then you don't see as much adverse effects going on with the different aspects, even leading up to a full moon. Because look at how it plays out. If you're in the the Sagittarian energy, and you are going on the adventures, you're being present, you're going through the experiences that you need to have, putting faith in yourself and expanding your wisdom and knowledge based off of your experiences. The full moon, you're going to know what you're talking about when the time comes to communicate. You're going to have a better time putting things to words because you actually done these things. It's not just conceptualizing. You're not just being optimistic and just talking about floaty ideas. You jumped into those experiences and you gave faith to yourself. You took that leap. So even if you don't know what you're necessarily, or it's not formulated enough, if you have that right vision, when you do come and speak about it, you're not going to reach a full moon moment in terms of catastrophe, or things being taken down, or things being snatched away from your life abruptly. It's going to be more of a release. Oh, the thing that was holding you back, because you set the right intention, the thing that was holding you back revealed itself, and now it's being able to release. And that's what's going on with people who manifest the bad full moon moment too. It's just a little bit more volatile because they lack the awareness of those areas. Not to mention that Mars is there, just like what Harith was saying, adding this whole aggression. It's like we wanted to debate, like we're down for the debate. We've been down for the debate for a while, which is crazy. Fighting with words, trying to hurt people with words. So now our emotions are into it. If you're not planting the right seeds this Sagittarius season, aka you haven't been walking the talk, you're not expanding your idea of self by through your actions, and then you go and talk about these things. You damn right you're opening yourself up to psychological attack, emotional attack. You're going to be so vulnerable, and things are going to be so aggressive that when you go into the energy, you have no shield. You're going to be, and it's going to attack your mind. Maybe with the moon in Gemini won't make you as emotionally responsive, depending on who you are in your alignments. Then it may not influence you to be as emotional, like sit down and cry emotional, but it really may fuck up your head, you know what I mean? And attach emotions to thoughts that you didn't want those emotions attached to, and kind of keep your mind going and keep you up at night, and you have all these thoughts making you feel things that you don't necessarily want to feel, because you want to talk something that you weren't living, that you didn't have knowledge to experience, that you didn't incorporate the broader big picture to. It would be so easy to fall into that volatility with Mars there. It's just adding. But if you've been planting the right seeds, now you have that passion in your voice. Now you can add emotion and motivation, and you can really push a conversation forward. You can really generate a lot of ideas, spur a lot of curiosity in yourself and those around you. If you could really start putting pieces together on the big picture if you've been planting the right seeds. So yeah.
Definitely, I'm gonna see an immediate response after the moon goes into Cancer. It's gonna square Pluto and Capricorn. So it's gonna see whether what you say, what you communicate about it, actually is gonna help your business status. It's not only about home and getting comfortable. It's almost like
Mhm.
you said something in the full moon in Gemini, you went home and Pluto and Capricorn catches you off guard. You're like, oh shit, and it's something like that basically. And then you can't stay in the while the moon is just in Cancer, is going to leave. You gotta perform in the stage opposite Saturn, Aquarius, and things of that nature. So like you got like no mercy basically. You say keep going basically.
Mhm. Absolutely. And yep, that's the nature of things. That's the nature of our emotions, too. But you always come back around to these things.
Mm-hmm. So so
Absolutely.
definitely, if you have heavy Pisces and Virgo alignments, watch out for that. This is gonna square you. This is gonna be forced to communicate there and externalize yourself and tell people what your visions, imagination. While Virgos and Pisces that might be more seclusive, more introverted than the fire signs and the water signs like Sagittarius or Gemini and things of that nature. So it's a lot of learning opportunity for you guys to go outside of your nature.
Absolutely, for sure. Really forcing you guys to conceptualize and mentally understand and mentally construct certain things um with those Plutos or with those mutable squares where things are so diverse and moving around. It's like you don't really know what to make of anything. So it creates a whole lot of confusion. Mutable squares, you're gonna see confusion at the baseline of it. Fixed squares is probably gonna be more like friction, like like headbutting type stuff, or like a block maybe, maybe just cardinal won't be as easy to move in a specific direction. I don't know, resistance to a
Yeah,
degree maybe, so you
and
can't
imagine how
move
the
as
beautiful square is like inconsistent, and then the base of it is Mars retrograde conjuncting the moon. So it's like it's not even a square. It's just like it's a foggy line.
exactly a lot of fogginess. So expect a lot of confusion, or for things to not genuinely make sense. But if we're in that Sagittarian energy, we'll still be able to have faith. We'll know the optimistic situation that we're trying to expand into based off of our experiences and the moral systems and spirituality that we are having. um it's a very spiritual time, Sagittarius season. When you
How
passing over the galactic center. The winter solstice. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happens Sagittarius season. So really aligning with this higher idea of yourself, creativity is aligning. There's a real boost at these times, and it's probably more of like the end of the year, end of the zodiac cycle, where energy is more potent because it's just light bending on itself. But once we get into these areas, into the collective signs, things move a lot faster. Things become there's a lot more energy to work with, so it becomes even more important to direct our energy into where is most important right now. Is spirituality, giving faith into our world, and learning by
this
experience.
full moon we're gonna make us realize how Gemini energy gets incorporated to the concept of like a spirituality too. But it's just the logical aspect of communicated day to day. This is where you have priests, rabbis doing daily ceremonies in the community to keep it intact. Like this Gemini energy to keep the word going. But for them to keep the word going, they gotta know what I see, aka the Torah. Like they have a higher understanding.
Absolutely. And like a bigger picture, a
And
collective type picture. It's like Gemini is like the spy or something like that. and they go out to collect information, but it's to come put it back to the bigger picture that we're trying to build something over here, or
And
whatever it is.
there's nothing better than if you have this Sagittarius energy, being a philosopher, but also be able have this intellectual, debatable energy. Like no one will be able to fuck with you because you know how to travel in long distance, short distance. It wouldn't even matter at this point. You have the highest level of education, basically.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely, the highest level of understanding. Absolutely, and that's why it's a tricky area to get to, because we're talking about bringing details to a big picture. Having a narrow perspective of a large picture. But it's not to discourage people. Too much people are discouraged, aka they don't want to talk about these large concepts. People don't want to talk about spirituality. People don't want to talk about race, religion, large concepts that encompass all of us, that how we perceive the world. It's uncomfortable to
It's
talk about
funny
these
how in
things.
biology these signs will be correlated with organs that deal with things that is big or it's hard. People are not so into breathing in a proper way. Gemini, people are not into moving their
Yeah,
muscular system and going through movement, walking around, long distance travel. So like even the physical representation of these energy itself, we as people do not like to use them or get to know these body parts more deeply.
yo, literally with leg day, niggas be skipping leg day. You know what I mean? Like, even if they do go to the gym, it's
Like a
all
lot of
upper
people who
body
they know that Sagittarius represent the hips, but they wouldn't know why it represent the hips. But then they would know that learn that Sagittarius deal with the muscular system.
size.
But then if you understand it deeper, you'd be like, oh, your legs is the biggest muscular group within your body. Yeah,
Yeah.
basically that type of energy. See? Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it is. That's the biggest muscle, yeah, that you have. It's your strongest point. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, wow, that's interesting. So yeah, there's a really create room for releasing, and should be the center of conversations. A lot of people hold things in, and I bet that's what would really sway Sag energy to go bad in one way, and it's the lack of communication. How do you not know that what you're experiencing is some bullshit, or that you're not expanding into an area of experience that you don't need to be in? If you don't go and bring it to words, and you don't go and talk about it, because you want to go off and go into extremes. And so this challenge to communicate it is really so you can confirm your
Exactly.
path. So don't run away from the conversation, because it's going to help for that with that confirmation. So try and release all of that fear and aggression, since Mars is there, towards communicating, towards being right, towards making sense out of things. You know what I mean? You don't have to understand everything beforehand. You really have to give in to a certain level of openness, and really make that your focal point for this full
And
moon.
use your experience to basically direct your thought and what you're speaking about in the other way around. It's even in biology too, because if Sagittarius represents your muscular system, your lungs are controlled through certain muscles. So like through certain breathing patterns and things of that nature, you gain control through your diaphragm and things like that. And through learning how to breathe, you learn basically a transition of different ways of speaking and breathing. Really, when you breathe, actually get a lot of information because you're learning how your body
Yeah.
transport things and then feel in different ways. It's really a meditative experience where you're traveling. Yeah. So like this full moon, as it releases it, it's almost like taking a shit through your lungs. Literally, you're releasing all that mucus, all that pathogen, all that nitrogen.
Isn't that what an external breath is? Eliminating
Literally, and it's
waste
a full moon
product.
in Gemini, so that's the perfect. And after that, the moon into Cancer, making you see the immune response based upon what you breath and like what you thought and what you spoke basically.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And look at how, having like what you were saying, having shorter breaths isn't going to give you more air. It's having the longer breaths and breathing properly in terms of and how it transfers to having a racing mind and racing emotions isn't going to bring you mental stability. It's really focusing on narrowing in on how your mind works and understanding and having direction, not having constant thoughts moving around like that. And how long breaths are going to help you sustain your muscular systems, aka you not being so racy mind. You're going to be able to make sense out of the bigger picture a whole lot more. So really try to release a lot of mentalities that aren't serving you or aren't helping you see the big pictures, and bringing it into words and communicating these things and speaking them a lot of times diminishes their power that they would have had if you had kept them in racing in your mind. And it lets you know now you can kind of see it with the sun perspective, out and conscious, like, whoa, that doesn't align with the energy I'm trying to be with. And you're able to let it go. But a lot of people don't acknowledge those energies, don't have those conversations, and things become go
That's the
unnoticed.
benefit of like fire signs and air signs, letting go. They externalize things, they push things out. It's the opposite of like water signs and earth signs. They hold things in. They're yin, feminine, internal. So it's easier for them to hold toxins instead of releasing it like fire signs and air signs. So having like Sagittarius energy and Gemini energy is really, and it's mutable too. So it's really making forcing you to change and need to externalize things and get all these things going out of your system. Which is, isn't it funny how I'm pretty sure there's a study that could prove exercise or movement of your muscular system help you remove the more majority of your toxins and things of that nature. Considering Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter, but and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Looking at the houses, and how this is going to hit everybody individually within their houses, wherever you have this full moon going on. If you have this full moon going on in your first house, how do you think
So
this
it's gonna
will
be a
hit them?
lot of emotional, aggressive, broad conversation about your personality, appearance, temperament, how you look. So you're gonna gain a lot of information about yourself, but also uh,
Yeah,
we also learn how to protect your self image through learn how to throw a jab back and things of that nature, communicating back. But it's gonna allow you to actually
yeah,
release a lot of oxygen that is trapped in your brain and nervous system through this full moon through your head, and you're gonna feel like you have a lighter head.
absolutely, absolutely. Especially if you're a Gemini ascendant. Gemini's been under attack for a long time before Mars in Gemini. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Neptune and Pisces. I don't know what it is. Gemini's just been sniped at for the last couple of years. So I can so see a Gemini rising, you know, maybe being afraid of speaking, or people downing their ability, because a lot of times Geminis do talk a lot and sometimes they are talking about nonsense, but there's speaking the cold hard facts of what it is. Whatever the nonsense is, that's exactly how the nonsense is, and they really communicate that. So there's a real essence of truth in your speech. So just like what Harriet was saying, it could help you, the full moon help release some of that energy so that you can speak more freely, speak truth more freely. Or you may manage a full moon moment if you don't express that part of yourself properly, or you're not seeing the big picture on you expressing your individualities is leading to you balancing your energy with other people. It's not just about expressing you as an individual. Yeah, we have to understand you as an individual separate from everything else. That is a valuable understanding, and you should speak about the things that you are interested in. But remember that there's a bigger picture, and that there's always going to be more people involved. And when you incorporate that into your individuality, you have easier emotions. So this is what the full moon is trying to teach you about going through to your first house, trying to show you how to emotionally respond to how you speak about your personality, your personal life, so things don't become as flaky, and it's more so versatile. They see your versatility in your personality and how you physically appear, and it's not in a negative way. You can manifest it in a
I
positive
like
way.
that. And you said see a seven house, you want to escape a lot of relationship or be a risk taker and things of that nature because you learn how to communicate your own personal need.
For sure, for sure. So yeah, that's how I would be looking if you have the full moon going on in your first house. If you have it going on in your second house, how do you think this will hit them?
Emotion reacting to communicating broadly and aggressive way about your finance, your earning power, your assets, and things dealing with money, safety, and security. So this is the type of energy where we are often gonna talk and argue and debate you about how you gain your resources, how you gain your safety, and this type of energy where people might want to take your money from you through utilizing the power of words and things of that nature. So you should definitely be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. With a full moon going on in your second house, exactly. You speaking about your resources, you speaking about your values may not necessarily playwright or what makes you stable or what you view as practical. You may have a full moon moment where expressing these things, yeah, it's just like what Harith is saying, prompts like a tax, or maybe you're starting to look flaky on your resources, or maybe it even forces you to be a little bit more distant or non-caring about you, non-emotional about your resources and things that you have, making you maybe a little bit more frivolous, or things slipping through your hands, and you lose resources through how you speak. You can really manifest a full moon moment where you jeopardize some of your assets, some trust in a certain degree, or even your self image and how you feel about yourself, let alone your resources and your finances, by saying the wrong thing, and just speaking because it wasn't attached to a bigger picture. And maybe you have Sag in your eighth house, it's in your second house, then you're not seeing the big picture of not only your trauma and your life experiences, but of other people's money, of the larger hitting behind meaning of things. You're not seeing the bigger picture of what's actually behind things. You maybe you're just speaking about things on such a surface level area. The full moon will create a buzz. So make sure that you see the hidden meanings behind things, and that when you emotionally express how you feel about your resources, that is that emotion involved, or that there's rationality. It's like it plays out positively as you being curious and experimenting with your resources and your trust. You're not being so loose and tight with it, that you can be versatile in how you use your resources, how you use your talents, how you use your values. Not get stuck in a box, but it helps by seeing the bigger perspective of the higher meaning behind things. Then reminds me of a nigga, Golden Myron or something. I think that's his name, and he's like talking about like Bible and business and stuff like that. And he talks about how you really have to be in the mindset of serving. Don't even think about making money, because the people who think about making money just come off as selfish, greedy, and all of that. You have to be in the mindset of serving a person. Then the money follows. He's like, God got you after you start serving people like that. Which that is absolutely the right mentality, because people feel that energy and respond to it. Yeah, so that's how the full moon might be hitting you if you have it going on in your second house and your third house. How do you think this full moon in Gemini is going to hit them if you
So
have it in
this
your
is
third house?
more Gemini-ness into Gemini basically. So you guys gonna be emotionally reacting to more of broad ways of communicating within your guys' immediate surrounding, within around your siblings, co-workers, neighbors, and things of that nature. You're gonna start conversation goings to really uh, maybe learn more and dive deeper and maybe see things and as not superficial, which what Gemini energy could make things is But as you're emotionally communicating more and arguing, you find things is not actually the way it is, and you realize there's more things to learn than your immediate surroundings. You realize there's things to more to learn about from your coworkers, neighbors, your siblings, and think about and this is like very, very Gemini, like early education, just learning type of energy.
Absolutely, absolutely. It can play out negatively where maybe you overanalyze your surroundings, and or your surroundings help facilitate a narrow perspective of certain emotions that take away from the bigger understanding of things. Maybe you're supposed to oppositing your ninth house. Maybe you're supposed to go through a higher learning process. Maybe you're supposed to travel, maybe not even physically travel, but mentally travel and experience new ideas that you never did. Your full moon moment might pull you back into the familiar. It might pull you back into your immediate surroundings or to having a narrow perspective. But sometimes having that narrow perspective is what allows you to travel far. So it's about rectifying that energy, and whatever stopping you from using that energy in the healthiest way, release that this full moon, and it's going to be found within your surroundings. So yeah, that's what will be hitting you if you have it going on in your third house. Fourth house, if you have the full moon in Gemini here, how
So
do you
you're
think
gonna
it'll
be
hit them?
emotionally reactive, expressing broad thoughts and ideas. You guys are doing it have a aggressive way within your home, domestic issues. This type of energy where you're trying to argue and learn more about your family, your domestic issues, why your home is the way it is, and things of that nature. This type of energy where you get to see basically uh, whether your home has it together, because here you wanna really tap the mental, basically develop the mental faculty around your home, basically, and things of that nature. And if it with the full moon here, especially it's a home here, it will get quite intense where you're trying to really feel in an emotional place that wants you to use your heart, where you try to use more communication, more argument, more brain energy, where you may realize it's kind of unnecessary, but you're gonna have to say something since the full moon, and you have to release something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, having a full moon, I'm in Gemini in the fourth house. I can see maybe not even the full moon might cause you to be a little bit more non-emotional at home, or be so um like non, what do you call it, so floaty with your comforts in terms, so wanting different comforts, wanting different things, wanting and maybe even speaking about your comforts a little bit too much, or making directing your mind towards those areas, towards home, towards what's comfortable, towards what's familiar, to one thing. A full moon may pull you too deep into the energy, and then you lose sight of the bigger aspect. Whereas we all have a home when we start out at home, but it's to build us up. You learn everything from home, so that you can go and make something of yourself in the world, so you can play a role and have certain stability and structure within the world. But all of that is learned at home, if you get what I mean. So if you're a little bit too versatile, a little bit too non-connecting in the home aspect, it's going to be hard for you to break out into the world and have stability. You won't be able to see the bigger perspective of dryness, of being conservative, of all of these things. And the full moon might really accentuate, you wanting to think about what's comfortable, wanting to think about what's familiar, and really pull you into those, and cause aggressive situations that kind of keep you stuck in that abyss. So really give credence to not always needing to be comfortable, to know how to use your comforts to be comfortable in every situation, even when you're uncomfortable. And then once you really understand your comfort level, what makes you feel at home, understanding the home environment in general, and having ease of thought and communication in that environment, you'll develop the understanding of how to build. It's just going to be a larger or a replica of what you have seen at home, or maybe different model tweaks and whatever it is, but it's going to be along the same thing. So if you understand your home, if you understand your comforts, you can go somewhere uncomfortable and turn it into a comfortable situation regardless. So that's what this full moon's teaching you. It's trying to release whatever blocks that is preventing you from feeling that way. So give the full moon those feelings and emotions and let them go. So yeah, that's the fourth house. The fifth house, how do you think this full moon will be hitting people within
So
in the
you're
fifth
gonna be
house?
emotionally reacting to expressing thoughts and ideas in a broad or indecisive way when it comes to the way you guys deal with your creativity, self-expression, and things of that. And it's a great time to see what people think, especially from a very logical point of view. Things of that. And you to see your performance. It's a good time to see how you can upgrade your game, aka your self-expression. But also, this is a great time to communicate and go travel. When it comes to like romance, having children, and things of that nature. These type of conversation might start getting released, especially during the full moon and things of that nature. And that full moon, Gemini released through the fifth house might really get your heart going and allow you self-expression every day with your blood flow to feel much more better. So it's definitely for you to get those communication, get those arguments going and things of that nature, and allow people to even argue against what you're doing so you could develop a better intelligence using your blood flow so you could know how to communicate, express it better and things of that nature. It's
Absolutely.
it's a type of
Absolutely.
energy where you're a rapper, but you're willing to let people give you lyrics to remix what you're doing and make it better.
Yeah, to develop the artistry, to make the song more well-rounded, more artistic, or more creative. Absolutely. Absolutely, I so see that. Yeah, exactly. So communicating more about what your entertainments, and what you have fun and what you enjoy, just like we're here at the saying, it creates more opportunity for more of these things to come into your life, for more of these things to be known. Oh, this is what this guy likes. Oh, because you speak about these things, we know what you like. But all can also play out as a negative, where everybody knows what you motherfucking like, and that's all you motherfucking talk about. And and that could be the negative thing. Is like, oh, this nigga only cares likes this shit, so we don't want, where it becomes too dominant. So much focus goes on to communicating about giving off your own light. You lose sight of the bigger picture of receiving light at the same time, where you try to communicate about your solar system, but you forget you're a solar system in a constellation, and it's about, and the way you operate your solar system. Talk about it for sure, bring communication to it, but it's to ultimately add to the movement of the constellation as well, not just your individual solar system. So it's not just about talking about the love that you want to give or the things that you like to entertain and stuff like that, but also using that, and using those emotions of wanting to communicate about these things for you to understand how to receive love and attention, and how to better coagulate with other people by having that knowledge yourself. Now, you speaking about yourself gives other people the information for them to better work with you. But as long as you don't get too carried away, it'll be easy to get carried away. So that's the fifth house. Looking at the sixth house, how do you think the full moon will hit
So
people
you're gonna
there?
be mostly reacting to broad and decided thoughts and ideas when it comes to the area of work, service, routines, patterns. This is the type of energy where you guys gonna hear a lot of conversation, debate, arguments, and learn a lot more on what you guys could do better when it comes to the area of work, health, and make it less restrictive and add that Gemini communicative aspect by which you're not so put into your own safety and security when it comes to your work and routine and things of that nature. You're willing to take the risk that Gemini is willing to take, which lead to let me say learning and educating himself. While if you keep doing your consistent routines and patterns and not allow to certain ideas, thoughts, arguments to help you break through that consistent pattern, you won't be able to evolve further. This will having the full moon in Gemini in your sixth house, this is almost you having oxygen reaching your digestive system, and then it's loosening up everything, and then with you releasing everything that's built up at the bottom of your digestive system, you're able to finally basically take a shit, because that's what you're prepared. But you gotta loosen
Dead
up all
ass.
that through communicating and arguing, and a lot of don't realize the heaviness between Gemini and then Virgo, that square, that the learning opportunity. How can we communicate about our routine and pattern, but also analyze them as we go about them? It is a very hard energy to describe.
I get what you mean. Gemini, in regards to relating to breathing, um, I can see how the full moon might turn into an air bubble, say that gets into your tummy like that, or like gas buildup or something like that. And and now it's hurting your digestion. You're already trying to digest other things, but adding air to it, too much air may fuck it up, and now you got the shits and the farts, and you don't know if it's a fart or if it's a shit or anymore. But with the proper management of the air, with it having proper access way throughout your body, it'll help give you the strength. Just like how it plays out physically, like it's hard to give new ideas in Gemini when you're trying to analyze with Virgo. So when you're in your area of life, of work, routine, balance, things that you're trying to deal with, receipts, the full moon in Gemini is making you more curious about, or being versatile in your daily routine, more curious about speaking about what it is you do on a day-to-day basis, getting new ideas, and really contemplating, trying out new things on a day-to-day basis, which may throw you off. You may not be able to develop a routine if you keep on going all crazy with that, aka you'll get the air bubble, too much air, and now you don't know if you need to take a shit or not. Just a little bit of those new ideas to revigorate you, but in that area, so you can keep it fresh, so you can keep it sustaining with the energy. You don't want to stay in the same routines and patterns that aren't serving you, so allow the energy of being versatile, of emotion dragging you into another area, to add freshness and newness and a breath of fresh air into your daily routines, your health, and your patterns and stuff like that. Also, speaking about health, is a thing here where you may manifest a full moon moment. Maybe you're the vegan friend or something like that, and you get a little bit too excited, a little bit too recommending, with the diet and stuff like that, and you lose sight of what's actually going on, and then you end up following a fad diet, where you're eating all of these nitrogen fixators, and then yeah, you're vegan, which is supposed to be healthy, but then you end up getting sick at the same time. You know what I mean? Because you're entertaining too much ideas without allowing it to analyze and interpretize and become a daily routine and incorporate into, like how your digestive system breaks things down and brings it into your whole vessel. So for sure, it can make you lose sight of the bigger picture, which is the ultimate state of being that you want to be. And this is why you're the dream that you're trying to manifest, and this is why you do things on a day-to-day basis. What is the end result? If you lose sight of that and you just get narrow-minded on the routines and patterns, and making things organized and making things make sense, you'll lose sight of what for, and that's what really propels you forward. So yeah, that's the sixth house. If you have this going on in the seventh house, how do you think this will hit
Emotion
them?
reacting in a broad or indecisive way when it comes to thoughts and ideas related, basically partnership, marriages, people you initiate relationship with. Having the full moon here is you realizing and sitting there and analyzing what type of people you want to have a relationship with, marriage with, and basically see how the full moon play out. If it plays out negative, you're gonna see arguments, especially with the Mars there, and then Mars falls here, and then the Moon falls here too. So it's not no longer about you. It's about relationship and the people here you need to deal with and things of that nature. But then having Gemini here, you have to argue, analyze, communicate about what you want, because it could be very indecisive, too broad, not really want to initiate the relationship and things of that nature. So you got to be
Yeah.
careful here. but also on the positive side, this is type of energy where you're able to have like a better mental faculty when it comes to handling your relationship. You know what relationship to get into, what relationship not to get into, and things of that nature. And this full moon, you get to see that or not, and you know what you where who to communicate to, and you actually understand how to analyze and be analytic about the seventh house as opposed to approaching with that Libra energy, just being with so much love and friendliness. Having Gemini here, you like you want to play around when it comes to your relationship, and it's kind of fucked up. You don't want to settle down.
It's kind of fucked up where it could play out positively where you really learn a lot about yourself, whereas a lot of people like me, even I got the first girl I ever been with pregnant, you know, made a family and stuff like that. So there's certain degrees or things that I had would learn maybe at a slower rate or more of a focused thing, whereas say somebody who has had a bunch of girlfriends and stuff like that would really know how this situation plays out in a lot of circumstances, but would want maybe eventually want to get to the situation that I'm at where they can really you know get down you know and really connect on that level. But yeah, that versatility in relationships can really in that full moon moment where it reminds me of Jordan Peterson because he's
Yo,
a Gemini
that's
sun, Libra
perfect. And he's
moon.
a moon Libra Gemini sun. He basically he's a liberal who's a dualistic liberal. That's how I call him, a dualistic liberal.
Exactly. And in his attempt to be fair and balanced or to cater to everybody, he's stretching himself so thin. It's like, what are you talking about? And then he wants to be balanced to everybody. So now he's talking about he's a Christian, but he's contextualizing for Judaism, Muslim, and everybody because he wants to be fair and balanced. But then what he's saying doesn't even make sense anymore. Because are you Christian? Are you Muslim? Are you? But you kind of lose sight of it. And then I seen a video of a guy talking about Jordan Peterson's actually an atheist, and then breaking down.
Yo, having that much
And
air
I was like, yo,
energy, I could see it in some way, shape, or form.
I'm like, yo, you talking about all of these as such an air like logical thing. You might as well be an atheist. It's like you don't believe this. It's like nigga, you so up in the air about this shit. Well, it intellectually makes sense. In the video, the nigga was like, God is innate, a fictional character. And I'm like, and then he's gonna go turn around and say he's a Christian. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? What the hell? I'm trying to conceptualize what he's saying. Okay, maybe he's just, and then I get lost, and then I'm out there, and I don't even know where I'm at anymore, bro. So that's the danger. But as I said, that versatility, you know, that being able to jump. Okay, let me talk about some Muslim shit. Okay, let me talk about some beauty. Okay, let me talk about. You learn a lot about yourself, and then you have this broad perspective of what you can be of your individuality. So you may lose yourself into your relationships and maybe talking about what you're entangled with other people and direct your minding on that. Don't lose sight of the bigger focus of you incorporating yourself with other people is to bring out the most of yourself, is to bring out the most and have your personal interest catered to. You know, you can't forget about that balance with having this full moon in your seventh house. So that's the seventh house. Looking at the eighth house, how do you think the full
So you
moon
guys
will
gonna
hit
be
them there?
emotionally reacting to broad and decisive thoughts and ideas related to power control issues, vulnerabilities, money, taxes, inheritance, sex, occult, mysticism. This is the type of energy where you guys are getting very curious to argue and learn more about eighth house things. And this full moon might be a great release to take all that was built up behind the scene and this is communicated out of your lungs, which is going to be good. But on the negative side, if you guys don't have a source or person to argue and analyze and release all these thoughts and ideas to, you might die with your respiratory system like closing in you because you're having all this aid, how things you want to say, but you can't say it, which is very dangerous. This is why it's the house of death. And eventually you don't get a place to release these things, it could lead into that and things of that nature. But this definitely heavy energy of being curious about eighth house things, but also noisy. Gemini with the eighth house, I could see how that person would be very nosy about your business, what you do behind the scene, but also a person who could create a heaven out of your hell by logically communicating to you. Like, yeah, shit, like, why are you so vulnerable? Like, what's going on behind you behind the scenes? Like, it's like crazy.
Dead ass. What was it making me think of when you were talking about that? It was making me think of fuck it'll come to me, but yeah, just like what you were saying, yeah, it helps you communicate these things, communicate the darker aspects behind the. Oh, it's making me think of the spy, talking about how Gemini is a spy. This is a Gemini spy, right, right. Where yeah, they'll go behind the scenes and find the deep dark shit, and then go talk to Jeffrey about it. He's like, you know what this nigga has in his bathroom? I found a fucking 12-foot long dildo in this nigga's fucking bathroom, bro. And niggas is like, what? Jeffrey has that in his bathroom? It's like, yeah, bro. And that's the type of energy where it could be a full moon moment where talking about the taboo, what's behind the scenes, can manifest like something like that. Now Jeffrey's mad at you. You went and exposed him. You know, now he went and gave out your secret, and now you have to go and deal with that. You know, it manifests into those situations. Mars is there too, so you can add a whole aggressive situation that might bring up your own past personal trauma, you know, and you're really fixating mentally on this. It can lead to a very depressive type energy. Gemini in Scorpio, I mean in the eighth house, rings of, you know, like mentally fixating on trauma, which can lead to depression, you know what I mean? But people who go into depression, who are depressed, and found the higher light, are the best people to go to when you're in low times, when you need a quick boost, because they know those lows and they transmuted their energy and they radiate that from their energy. So it'll be so much easier to talk about trauma, what you're going through, with someone who's been through that trauma and is rose out of it, someone who's comfortable talking about their trauma. It's easier for you to go to, so it manifests in both ways. You don't have, but you have to remember about establishing value and trust and self-worth, and having a certain level of stability in self. You can't forever fixate on the behind the scenes, or forever talk about your emotions and traumas, even if you have gotten through them. What have you done with it? You know, what do you have to show for it? You still need to expand into those territories where a lot of traumatized people say they get, or depressed people, they get half out of depression. They get a little bit higher. They transmute some of that energy, and then they try and coach everybody who's a little bit more depressed than them, instead of keep on moving forward to show what they have for it, because you know they want to stay behind the scenes type energy, and keep working there. But remember, you're working behind the scenes, so um the garden, or your home can look the best, you know, if you get what I mean. So the outside can look the best, so it could be as stable on the surface. You know, with eighth house energy, you look at the meaning behind it, because you see the meaning that it innately has, in just its function, or the sensuality, how it affects you in a physical sense. So yeah, you don't want to lose sight of bringing physicality to things, you know, instead of just talking about the traumas. So yeah, that's what could play out in the eighth house. What about the ninth house? How do you think this might hit
Because
them there?
once you react to arguing and analyzing about God, spirituality, broad visions and imagination, this type of energy where you really get to argue and analyze and communicate what you believe and how you see God, which will be quite hard, especially with Gemini energy here. So we deal with short distance travel, and God is a long ass distance travel of space. So you end up saying so much to fulfill that entire space, which is very hard. So you end up over speaking, especially with Gemini in the ninth house. I feel like the Gemini ninth is perfect for like someone like it describes to me at least Jordan Peterson. I can see how you could have some of this energy. So having the
Yeah,
full moon here is gonna allow you to release a lot of faith, a lot of understanding that you've been building about God, really, and this is gonna get you happy and excited to see who think like you and who has a similar faith like you. But for you to do that, you gotta speak the word of God first, and you're gonna know how to do it too. And the full moon is gonna test it because you're gonna be conjunct to Mars, retrograde too. So you're gonna have a lot of thoughts. You know, you want to go back and forth before you express them, specifically related to faith, religion, God, spirituality. Because this is like a very hard area, especially when you bring Gemini energy, and to communicate logically about abstract things that deal with the fire element that burn through reality. That doesn't want to stay here. While Gemini want to debate and argue, I want to enjoy the communicative faculty of things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get what you mean. It does have kind of like that Jordan Peterson vibes of philosophizing about things, but it's like the accumulation of information, whether it serves you or not. Like what you were saying when well it's kind of like Mercury in Sagittarius, but it's kind of that it plays out with Gemini and Sagittarius too, where and when Mercury goes into Sagittarius, it's Mercury is so straightforward and direct and it's quick. Sag is so broad. Mercury could go quick. All right, let me follow the straight of thought. Where the hell am I? I don't even know where I am anymore. Where did we go? I can see a similar thing happening. Maybe there's a lot of experiences that you have had in your life, a lot of versatile, different experiences that may have come up. And you may speak about your spirituality and your experiences and your life experiences. A hell of a lot. Sometimes it might take away from the meaning, or you trying to put this narrow perspective. You may not see the larger overarching meaning behind your experiences and the things that you have went through because you're trying to communicate these things and logically analyze these things and make sense out of these things, or it can play out as there's a lot of information. Maybe you experience a whole bunch of other things and it's hard to put meaning to so much things, when you're trying to fit a whole bunch of little pieces into a big picture. It could take very long. Imagine a large jigsaw puzzle. Those are going to take long. Meanwhile, if it's about the big picture, the nigga with four big pieces can maybe make the same picture that you're trying to make a hell of a lot quicker. But then you got a whole 1,000 piece jigsaw puzzle and stuff like that, which really could make it more difficult. So you don't want to manifest the full moon moment where you start to feel um overwhelmed, or you start to overly analyze or overly talk about your experiences and your spirituality, and you lose sight of the bigger picture of it, which aka is understanding um your surroundings to a degree. Maybe there's a lot of different travels and stuff like that, but a lot of having an overarching understanding of your mind and how your mind works, and your surroundings and how you're influenced by them. But if you're trying to conceptualize your experiences a little bit too much, it can really get in the way. If you get what I'm saying. So yeah, that's the ninth house. If you have this going through your 10th house, how would
So
this hit them there?
the emotion you're reacting in a broad or indecisive way it comes to your thoughts and ideas, but this is gonna be related to your public life, your work, your business, how you are seen. This is the type of energy where you get a lot of argument, thoughts, and ideas related to how you're seen by the public for either your benefit to help you further how you're seen, or either to hinder how you're seen and like destroy your reputation here, especially with Gemini in the 10th house and having a full moon moment here. Mars here, Mars is exalted, so someone might say something and you might want to take action on it and things of that nature. And so you want to highly be
Yeah.
careful. And but this is gonna be definitely an edge for you guys to realize how Gemini energy could be highly beneficial to the 10th house in the sense that the 10th house deal with seriousness, it deal with hard work, it deal with like putting the work in, and having the full moon in Gemini. If you guys planted like good seed when you guys had the new moon, which was in your fourth house, you guys would have at least prepared your home life so you guys could go out there and communicate properly about what's going on when it comes to your work, your business, your status, because you obviously have a better spiritual understanding of your home and how does your domestic issues work and things like
Absolutely.
that. So definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. It could lead like a full moon moment. Maybe you talk about your business a little bit too much, or you speak about certain responsibilities that you can't uphold, or you test or emotionally respond to responsibilities or reputations or that you can't necessarily uphold. But it could play out in a positive aspect where like what Harold was saying, maybe you can have different ideas about reputation and status in the workplace of how you're getting stability. It leaves you to being versatile within that realm of reality. A lot of times, like in Capricorn and in business, a lot of times conversations needed, communications was needed to really make something stable, to have all the information that's there. Sometimes stop talking. Sometimes talking at work or something like that really does slow down production in terms of things don't get as done because there's a little bit too much talking going on that sense. So you want to be on just and that, like what Harris was saying, whether how much to talk about your business and how much ideas to entertain and contract really comes from an understanding of home, a spiritual understanding of home and what you're comfortable with. If you have a broad understanding of what you're comfortable with through having maybe you traveled a lot, or your home's about spirituality, so you knew about spirituality, or you just entertain a whole bunch of thought, or your home life is a free roam where you're allowed to be comfortable about different perspectives and stuff like that. It can really help in terms of that versatility in the responsibility aspect, where you can move and attack different responsibilities in multiple different ways, attach different emotions to responsibilities in different ways, instead of being floaty to your responsibilities and not wanting to deal with them, and feeling non-attached to your responsibilities and to your position in life. You may feel not attached to your position in life at this full moon moment and really mess up your reputation, and prevent yourself from establishing a level of comfort if you dive too far into those energies. So yeah, that's how the 10th house is looking. The 11th house, how do you
So
think this
you're
will hit
very
them there?
emotional, you're reacting to broad and decisive ideas related to social good, work, humanitarian activity. How can you get progress society through being unique and original and rebel against what's old and outdated? Having the full moon here, you guys releasing a lot of emotion comes to you guys desire to analyze and argue with the people you guys associate yourself with, because you guys don't want to be so restrictive with the group you guys are with. You guys want to be dualistic. You guys want to be able, Gemini in the 11th house, you guys want to be able to hop groups. You don't want to get, you guys want to be stationed in one group. You guys understand the knowledge and wisdom, right? Or at least the logic of switching groups or having multiple groups. But also, this is why you guys might be viewed as snakes, untrustworthy. You guys are worse than, like,
Another spot.
worse than Gemini in the second house, in my opinion, because this deal with the collective science. This is like, hey, everybody might hate you, type of shit. So you guys wanna be definitely, because a lot of the all this emotion is gonna happen basically at the area of groups, friends. So definitely pay attention. A lot of conversation, a lot of thoughts and ideas. You don't know where this thing or this thought or this what this person said even came from. Mixing all the Gemini energy comes to the 11th house, really, because Gemini is very trickster. Like, you want to have fun, while the 11th house, you want to progress and move things. It could make things very serious, while Gemini want to have fun. So the full moon, you guys might see like how that energy actually played out.
Absolutely, you may have stretched yourself your social life a little bit too thin, or given a little bit too much emotions in different pockets that it may seem logical, or each of them are logical, but they're taking emotional energy from you that's really sustaining. That full moon moment might make it snap, just like what Harith was saying. Either your group starts responding to you, or you stop in being involved within these groups, or you end up being a spy and everybody turns on you, or starts hating on you, or downs you on that versatility for not being fixated on a specific realm of thought, supported by your emotions. But that versatility will also allow you, to find the right group. If you're able to make the most out of this group, but not, be held down in terms of ideas and entered into this group, you're the type of person who maybe you can construct a better group based off of these things. Or you're the type of person who's going to, have a bunch of knowledge on how to incorporate with people and to be a social butterfly, a social phenom, and understand people on a really large level, instead of just spreading yourself too thin where you can't intellectualize all of these things, where it's too much air. When you roll down the window and you're going too fast and you put your head outside, it's, like the wind's hitting you so fast that you can't breathe. But when there's steady air,
This is the type
breathe
of
all you want.
energy where you want to work with everybody, but still don't want to work with everybody. But like it's the air element, things get very thin, especially when we shake our hands on the word and shit like that. Now you get flaky and
Yeah,
things like that.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, it can really, as long as you don't forget about, your personal expression and incorporating your likes and wants. It's okay to be dynamic socially, but how do you feel about these things? Can you fully express yourself into these things? Don't lose your mind. That's why you're learning these social skills. So don't allow the full moon moment to, make you stretch yourself too thin and to be too versatile, and you lose sight of who you are. You don't want that to happen. So yeah, that's how it's looking in the 11th house. In the 12th house, how do you think
So
this will
you
hit
guys gonna
them?
be mostly reacting to expressing and arguing and analyzing about things related to your belief system, your spirituality, your subconscious mind. This is a time for you guys to release what's all in your lungs, but based upon what you guys built behind the scene. This is like a person who sees a lot of things and you want to get it in one word, especially having the moon conjunct Mars retrograde. Like you don't know what to say. Well, you have it. You're ready to all these things. I can see how crazy it would be. But this is the type of energy where we can see whether you know to how to basically argue and say what's on your subconscious mind, translate it properly, or you don't. Like a bad full moon moment would be you thinking you know what you're talking about, but you don't know what you're talking about, and that would be like a great moment for someone to put you in your place. And this is where you, as a Gemini in the 12th house, might hide yourself because you said something wrong and things of that nature. So but like this is a great time for you to really out there argue and analyze and gain more knowledge and early education on like subconscious mind, secret things, hidden activity, secret enemies, really diving deep, having these arguments about like the metaphysical nature of Pisces is gonna what drive the world and things like that. And this is what you guys gonna realize and things like that.
Absolutely. It helps you, with that exclusionary, or the to run away from the conversation, prevents you from developing that understanding. Trying to bring it to words is going to be hard. It's going to be confusing to try and logically analyze these states of beings, these larger concepts, your subconscious in general. But you're trying to communicating about your subconscious so that you can find, meaning in physicality in the real world, to not lose sight that you're trying to bring your dreams down into reality. It's not about thinking about them and conceptualizing them. You may get a little too lost about trying to communicate these things, which leads to the frustration aspect, and to those aspects. But you're just trying to experience these things on a day-to-day, level. You're trying to bring them down to physicality. And this is why we speak about our dreams. This is why we try to bring, emotional clarity through our subconscious, so that we can manifest our dreams in a much healthier, stable way, with meaning and understanding. Or else you'll start manifesting all of these unconscious archetypes, and they start playing out through you, and then you don't even know what's coming from what at anymore.
Definitely watch out with
But yeah,
Gemini in the 12th house. sounds a lot of fraud energy. Like you really
Oh
manipulate
yeah,
things or get manipulated like on some real shit.
yeah, yeah. Or you really lose yourself because Gemini's,
Or your
you know,
emotions.
a,
You
a
might end
whole
up in
lot
a
of
hospital
confusion.
too.
For sure, for sure. So that versatility, emotional versatility may not play out the best in your subconscious because your subconscious is filled with things. You know what I mean? So a little bit more emotional direction, if you have this going on in your 12th house, is really crucial for you not get lost and to actually manifest what you really want into your physical
Think of this
reality.
full move for yourself as a Kanye West moment type of shit.
That has. If he just sat down and maybe wrote out what he was gonna say first, just thought about it a little bit beforehand, could go and say the same sentiment, slightly different words. I better would have played out better. You got that right. Well, that's funny. But yeah, that's the energy of the full moon in Gemini and throughout all 12 signs. We hope y'all stay safe this full moon. Remember the broader picture and to not get lost into the narrow aspects that your emotions may be leading to, but that narrowing of your emotions what's eventually going to allow you to launch into the expanded states of being. So don't run from the energy, and if you planted the right seeds, you'll see the fruits and benefits from your continued work and
And
expanding
you
yourself.
actually enjoy the argument, even the aggression behind it, because it's Gemini. You wanna play too.
You'll see that you can learn
Yeah.
from it. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, thanks for watching, y'all. Check out our Instagram, TrueSpace underscore. Check out our website, TrueSpace.biz. And support us, like, subscribe, all of that. We'll catch you guys on the
Take
flip
care.
side.